us today. Thank you, Julie, for remembering to record. We're going to record the session. Later on, we may be doing some breakout groups. And if we do, just know that those breakout groups will not be recorded, just the main session. So I'm going to share my screen with you so we can take a look at our agenda today. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here's our agenda. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so delighted you're joining us. Judith and I started this group back in September, and our goal is eventually to have all in-person sessions, but right now we're doing it via Zoom, which has worked out just beautifully, and we can videotape it too. We're going to talk about a couple of book recommendations from the art world. If you have any books that you'd like to recommend, we're always open to hearing about that. And then Suzy Farren is our artist talk today, and she's going to share lots of fascinating information about her creative work. And then we'll have a Q&A session. So keep in mind any questions you might like to ask her. And then we'll do a breakout group, some breakout groups where you can discuss your takeaways from her talk and what's exciting in the art world that you know of, that you're looking forward to or that you would recommend. And then Judith and I will close the session with what's coming up next. Judith is our program director, and she is putting together Judith, you always find the most fascinating people, artists and venues, and she's always planning 2 or 3 months ahead. So we've got some exciting information to share there. And then a closing inspiration to guide you as you get back from the Zoom into your studios.
You know, that being said, we so much want this to be, this initiative to be a collaboration of people and venues and institutions and artistic styles and different techniques and different ideas. So we truly, truly welcome your participation to help shape, you know, inspiring events and activities and experiences. So when and if you have any suggestions, please don't hesitate to email Cynthia or me through the Art Collaborative email address. I would love to work with you on planning any idea and executing any ideas that you have. So it's really meant to be, you know, a give and take and participatory with your full engagement. So that just
absolutely. Our philosophy is the more input, the better, right, Judith? Okay, I'm going to share with you a couple of book recommendations. Has anyone heard of these 2 books, The Secret Lives of Color and The Golden Thread, How Fabric Changed History? They're both written by Cassia St. Clair and both written in the last several years. The Secret Lives of Color is like an encyclopedia of 75 different colors and tells the story, the history behind each color, and has references not only to history, but to literature as well, and to artists. The Golden Thread is very similar, and it's more for our fiber artists about fabric and history. I've glanced at both of these. I have both of these, but I haven't read them yet. The Secret Lives of Color is one you could just pick up and read a few pages here and there. And the pages are color coordinated, color coded, I should say. as well. So that's pretty cool. Does anyone have any other books they would like to tell us about?
Cynthia, if not, maybe we could show the next slide, because
Okay.
books are wonderful, as we all know, because we can hold them, we can feel them, we can touch them, we can mark them up, and we can return to them over and over again. But at the same time, not that any of us need more reason to spend more time in front of a screen, there are a host of valuable online resources. And here are a few, and I've listed the website addresses as well. And I'm sure there are others. And if you have one that you rely on, we would welcome knowing about that as well. And these can be customized so that you receive information just related to your specific interests and in your preferred format. So, and of course, your preferred frequency. But some focus more on articles and exhibit reviews, and others offer video clips, virtual studio visits and films. Does anybody, and who knows, again, my motto about art is that you just never know when you're going to stumble on someone, something, or some place that's going to inspire your work. So does anybody have any others that they would want to add to that list? Okay, well, Suzy's ready. And when I first was talking to Suzy about the possibility of her giving this artist talk, she said, people don't want to hear what I have to say. They want to see what I do. So thanks to her generosity of her heart and hands, today we get to do both. She's going to show us what she does and share a little bit about the how and the why. And as Cynthia said, she's speaking to us from her studio. So we get a glimpse into the space in which she creates. And I feel like you can learn so much about artists and about art by seeing creative spaces. So Suzy began to explore the world of art toward the end of a professional career as a VP of corporate communications. And after retiring, she started taking various art classes that interested her, and then delved full-time into her artistic practice. And she found herself gravitating toward fiber and mixed media. I think she's created some of her own genres since then. And she's captivated by fabric, papers, words, books, boxes, and nature, just to name a few of the elements that inspire her. So the other thing Suzy says is that she never knows how a piece will turn out. And as we all will see, and some of you already know, the results are striking. So here is Suzy to tell us more about her work and her process.
Thank you, Judith. That certainly was lovely. And now I really don't say anything because you summed it so well. So great. Cynthia, could I have the first slide, please?
Yes.
Sadly, I'm not proficient at Zoom, so I need all the help I can get. But while Cynthia is getting that, I was in corporate communications at the end of my career. I spent my whole career as a writer with words and always finding the right word. I really was very careful about all the words that I would choose. And it was about 10 years before I retired, I decided to just start taking classes. Here in St. Louis, there were a lot of opportunities. And the very first class I took was Stampin' Up. And I don't know if any of you remember Stampin' Up, but you bought these stamps and you stamped little cards. And you would go to this thing called a make and take. And you would, the teacher had a card, and she would teach you how to make it. So I would go, I would be all excited, and then I would look at the card and I would think, wow, that's really cool. What if I did this? And the teacher would say, no, you're doing it, this is how you make the card. You must do it that way. And I wondered why, because it was sort of a creative endeavor, why I would leave feeling kind of stressed. And it finally dawned on me one night. I think it was a Friday night, and I was in my studio before we built this, our garage with this studio. And I had a glass of wine, and I was playing with my stamps, and I was sort of dabbing color on. And, the wine was really lovely. And all of a sudden, I really felt like this is good. So could I have the next slide, please, Cynthia?
Sure.
Not seeing any slides.
And I made this. Now, I stamped it, but then I kind of painted it. And I was so thrilled. I made this little thing, this beautiful little thing. And this is, I just couldn't believe that I could do this with my hands. It was beyond anything I could have imagined, because I wasn't into that world. Well, the next thing that happened was I took a class at Red Lead. Maybe some of you remember Red Lead. And if I could have the next slide, I made this. And this to me was a miracle, that I could make something so beautiful. And so it was 3-dimensional. I could paint little pictures on it. I could stamp my stamps on it. I could hold it in my hand and just love it. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe that, that could happen to me. So I kept taking classes, and I would make things. And one, I don't know, maybe in 2009, 2010, I took a class with a woman named Farren. And Farren is a wonderful abstract mixed media artist. And the class was at Craft Alliance. And it really pushed me, and it was exciting to take the class because I was trying something new. And at the end of the class, one of the women in the class, Nancy Curtin, I don't know if you know her, asked me if I would make a piece of art and donate it to the 13 Squared auction, which a bunch of women artists have had in St. Louis to benefit the arts community. It's a wonderful thing. It's still happening. And I looked at, I thought to myself, what do you mean make a piece of art? How could I make a piece of art? I'm a student. I'm not an artist. I can't make a piece of art. Well, but because this was going to benefit charity, I decided.
Out in here.
I'm sorry.
Maybe. Good.
Because
How are you?
Julie, could we mute everybody, please, except for Suzy, Judith, and me?
I'm just. Farren.
So I decided, okay, I would make a piece of art and contribute it. It was 8 by 8 inches. That's why it's called 13 Squared, whatever. And I looked at that little piece, that 8 by 8 inch piece, and I thought, oh my God, how am I ever going to fill this blank space? Because before, I had always had people tell me what I was doing or what I would make, even though I would, always there'd be a spin on it or whatever, my own personality. But this was starting from absolute scratch, and it terrified me, but I did it. And it went into the auction with a bunch of other pieces by a lot of St. Louis artists, mostly women. And a friend bought it. I just figured she was just being kind to me. So, but the whole experience made me sort of do this mental shift. I'm still writing, I still have my career, I'm still stressed out from work, but could I make the shift from, making these lovely books and using Stampin' Up stuff to actually creating something? So I talked to so many people about it, so many wonderful, generous, kind people. And I decided, okay, I'll give it a try. And so I took a class at Craft Alliance. I'm sorry, I did. Craft Alliance has, I don't know if they're still doing it, but that every other year they had an emerging artist show, and you can create a piece and enter it into that show to see if it can get in. And I did. And that would be the next slide. And this piece was called A. And not only did it get in, I mean, the thought of having a piece in a gallery, and the Craft Alliance gallery is so beautiful. I couldn't imagine anything better than that. It was just so exciting. And I want to say that was maybe in 2011. And after that, I really started thinking, maybe I am an artist. So I started entering shows. And then when I wouldn't get into shows, I would talk to my friend Ruthie or Robin at Art St. Louis. And I would say, what's wrong with me? Why isn't anything getting into a show? And they were all so helpful. So many people have been helpful to me. And I just kept trying. And so I finally started getting some things into shows. And it was extremely gratifying because, except then I felt like everybody was I was somehow getting into shows because people felt sorry for me. And they were saying to the judge, oh, pick that one because, she'll feel so hurt if she doesn't get in, which is kind of pathetic, but that's just the way it was. And then I started realizing that, well, I'm getting into some of these shows and I don't know the judges, and they're not just feeling sorry for me, so that was enough to keep me going. And could I have the next slide, please, Cynthia? And what I realized was I was very drawn to the palette that I was using. Was just evoke New Jersey, the New Jersey countryside where I grew up and spent so many times just, running through fields and sitting, picking blackberries. All of a sudden, it was like this palette was inside of me for all these years, and it was coming out in my artwork, in the colors that I was drawn to and the pieces. I loved pieces. And so this one is a fabric and paper that was eco printed, printed with leaves and rust and various things like that. And so I was sort of developing a better sense of myself as an artist. I could see what I was drawn to. I understood why I was drawn to those colors and those little pieces, the fields or the rocks or whatever it was. And I would start to feel better about entering things in shows. So could I have the next one, please, Cynthia? Sorry, I'm not doing this myself. This piece is called Pizzicato, and it was a bunch of fabrics that I had dyed with onion skins or leaves or walnuts. And I put it together. And then, gosh, who was it? Someone, I can't remember right now, suggested I apply to this show in Mendocino. It was like the world, maybe it was a national or international show. And the juror was Yoshiko Wada, who was really well known in the fiber community. And so I did it. I thought, well, why not? I entered this piece and maybe others, I don't remember that. And it got in and I was really thrilled. And I went to their website And it was the image they had chosen to put for the show to put on the website.
Wow.
And it was really exciting. I mean, when these things happen, I just have to laugh because it's all so unexpected. And this piece actually did win the second place award in the show, and you'll see it because it's hanging in my studio. But I didn't limit myself to two-dimensional things. The other, I realized that, I may be an artist, I'm not an artist, whatever, I'm a maker. I love to make. A friend of mine recently told me she's making a mood blanket where every day she chooses a color, and she knits 250 stitches, 2 rows of that, the color of her mood. And I could not wait to go home and do the exact same thing. I love to make stuff. What I did find out about myself, however, was that I made a list of 13 moods. But then when it came to knitting them, I was like, oh, I don't like that color combination. I'm gonna just make it a different color. So there went the idea of the mood, but I'm still working on the blanket. It'll take me all year, but it was exciting. So next slide, please, Cynthia. So I got into basket making. And again, the palette is so, subdued, and it's all got to feel really natural. And, I just love it. This piece was in the show at the Foundry in St. Charles, and I don't remember what year that was, but nature really is a big draw for me. I just am very inspired by it. And, to make these little baskets, again, they're intimate. You can hold them in your hand. And I made them with my hands. That's the thing. It's using your hands to make. It is such a joy to do that. Okay, the next slide, please. So the other thing I love, or one of many other things I love, as Joanne Kluba will tell you, is making books. And I took a class with Dorothy Caldwell, who is just this amazing creator, artist, person. And we made marks. We just, she gave us some paper, and we spent the whole week making marks. And one of the things that was interesting to me was that the paper that she gave us was white. And I just had such a hard time with that. So what I finally did was I went outside and found some grass cuttings and made the pages not white anymore. Just with all these marks. I love to do this stuff. And one of the things we even did was, if I can find it, and of course I won't find it now, we burned the pages, which was just yummy. Can you see that burn mark?
Yeah.
But making marks on pages like this, it was so thrilling, just these repetitive marks. Anyway, it was so exciting. All of this was so exciting to me. Oh, you know what this is? This is my fingerprint dipped in ink. How does that happen? But the cover, she wanted us to stitch the cover and of the book, which was sort of freestanding. So I stitched a chicken. I had been involved with Missouri fiber artists. So I have lots of fiber art friends. And, I didn't know how to stitch, but I just did it. And I made this cover and this chicken. And I love, even if nothing ever was in a show again, I love making this stuff. I love that hands made this chicken. Okay, oh, next. Yeah, the next slide is fun too. And this was when I was trying to make an image of myself as a little girl, but it didn't turn out that well. It turned out I made the first one and it was a rabbit. And then then I decided it needed a baby rabbit. And then it needed twigs for its little nest. And I mean, it, it was so exciting to do this. And believe it or not, Susan Bostwick arranged a show at a children's museum a few years ago where the children could touch the art. And this piece was in it. And I was so delighted because it's such a happy, fun, loving piece that I made with my hands again. Okay, next one. So this was, I guess in 2019, somehow we've moved up to 2019. I've managed to retire, thankfully. And another thing, well, when I was a writer, I was always using my brain. I'm always thinking to find the right word. But with art, it's very intuitive. I just do what I do. Like the chicken. Dorothy asked me, why did you make a chicken? What is the meaning of the chicken? And it had no meaning. I wanted to make a chicken. So I made a chicken. I love that. I love that I got to use one part of my brain for most of my life in my career. And now I'm using, well, I don't know if it's my brain, it's more my gut. But this was in 2019 and Erica Pop invited me to have a solo show at her gallery to accompany Innovations in Fiber, which is it happens it used to happen every 2 years and then it happened every 4 years. So I don't know if it will happen next year or not. Anyway, so Erica invited me to have a show in conjunction with that at her gallery. Lovely, lovely, very small gallery, which was perfect because a lot of my stuff is intimate. And I decided that what I should do was use some of the scraps that I'd saved over the years because I can't throw anything away. I also forgot to say, I moved from this little room in our house to this, well, it's still kind of a little studio, although it seemed monstrous at the time. But I save every scrap I've ever printed with leaves or dyed with walnuts. I can't throw these things out because really you never know when you're going to need a scrap. And so I decided for this show that I would put all the scraps together in a sort of wall, along with some of the books that I've made over the years, like the chicken book, but other books too, because I really have gotten into making a book whenever we go on a trip or I love books. I love the intimacy of touching this book and holding it in my hand and looking at the pages and seeing what I can see in the marks. That was a bird. Anyway, so this happened during Innovations in Textiles in 2019. And I was really excited that I first thought of it. And then I could make it happen because it just put all these little tiny scraps together into something bigger, into something that to me was very beautiful. So that was really quite a lovely experience. And I'm again grateful to Erica. Next, okay, next slide. So then Mary Martin, who owns the Green Door Gallery, she had just taken it over. And she asked me if I would like to be a guest artist there. And I said, as I usually say, sure, why not? But the thing is that the stuff I was making was not really commercial. it wasn't, I couldn't frame anything really. I mean, I put backings on the fiber pieces and that's been terrific, but I really couldn't frame anything. So I decided, okay, you better figure this out. So I did, and I made a series of pieces. This was one of them, and there were a lot that were, I don't know, maybe 10 by 10. And I sort of went back to the Giles method of just, piling one thing on top of another in a flat space, ink and paint and paper and, you name it, crayon, oil pastel. And I managed to have pieces for that show. And when I was the guest artist, there was one night Mary called me and she said, I have to tell you that someone just came in and bought 9 pieces. And that was pretty thrilling, pretty amazing, pretty exciting. And then I thought, oh my God, now I have to make more pieces because the show is still up for another few weeks. So that was really exciting. And I did end up joining the gallery as one of the artists. Unfortunately, I did it like in March of 2020. And you all know what happened in March of 2020. So I stayed with the gallery for about a year, but it was difficult because not much of my abstract work sold. However, during COVID, I felt so fortunate. I didn't have to go to work. I could go to my studio every day. And I guess we're still during COVID because I've been here a lot. But anyway, I would go to my studio every day. And I saw in Robin's Art St. Louis newsletter, there was a call for artists to apply to what has now become Sager Reeves Gallery in Columbia, a beautiful gallery, beautiful. And I thought, okay, you might as well give it a whirl, see what you can do. And of course, to do that, you had to have an artist statement, a CV, obviously you needed some images, your biography, your story, all this stuff. So it was lucky I was a writer and I was able to somehow churn out some of this stuff. I had worked years before on an artist statement, which really, it's a hard thing to do. And I was finally, it took a long time and I was pleased with how it turned out. But anyway, so I applied to Sager Reeve Gallery, and they were going to let you know on August 29th. And on August 29th, I applied, and on August 29th, I got an email saying that my work had been accepted. And I mean, talk about exciting, thrilled. Yeah, it was just another really exciting time. But then it was like, oh my God, now I have to make art. What am I going to do? And this had to be, framed and professional. And so I worked in my little workbook, sketchbook, and I took some online classes because that's, what was available during when nobody was seeing anyone. And I was able to, forget that. We'll come back to that. The other thing I did during COVID was, in the movie, The Silence of the Lambs, what's his name? Anthony Hopkins tells Jodie Foster, she's looking for who's the murderer, and Anthony Hopkins says, "We covet what we see every day, Clarice." And every day to get upstairs into the studio, I see a lot of boxes because we seem to save boxes, just cardboard boxes. And so I thought, well, I think I will do something with the cardboard boxes, because I'd taken a print class at the St. Louis Artists Guild. And I had a lot of pieces. I just printed on very small pieces. And so I made this piece out of cardboard. If you could show the next slide, please. And I called it, this was so much fun to do. The name of it is "We Covet What We See Every Day, Clarice." Because it's just these little scraps of fabric kind of glued onto cardboard. And then there's a stitched cloth underneath. Again, with more of my print from the print studio at the Artists Guild. But that piece was really fun, and I can't find it. I'm sure it's around somewhere, but I couldn't find it for today. It was so much fun. You can't really see it, but it has little, rusted metal inside, and there's little rusted metal rings hanging from it. And it just was fun to do. Okay, so back to my story about Sager Reeves. So we could have the next slide. I found myself, as I was preparing for this show, all of a sudden things were in color, and I don't know why. I have no idea why that happened. Someone said maybe you worked through all the muck, but I don't know. I still love the earth stuff, but I thought the work was good, but you don't know. You're in your studio, you're all alone. I mean, who knows? But I took a bunch of pieces into my framer. And when I went to pick them up, he said, "What do you charge for your pieces?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, I would really like this piece. So would you trade, I'll give you that much framing if I can have this piece." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, great." And that was one of the pieces in the show at Sager Reeves. And then this last piece, this is my last slide, the next one. Is probably my favorite, and Janet Eto so kindly purchased it at the show at Sager Reeves. And I posted it on Instagram, and you're doing this and you just don't know, is it any good? I liked it, but what do I know? And somebody named it on Instagram, and they named it, well, anyway, I don't know what they named it. Oh, I called it Elephant Dreams. There's an elephant in it, as you can, can you see the elephant with the eye?
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't see it until someone pointed it out. So I've learned so much about myself through art. That's what I love doing this. And I'm, working on so many things now. I have so many interests, but everything I do is always, always, always about, getting your hands in it. Even with some of the painting I do, I have to be rubbing it physically. I don't know why that is, but it's just me. And I still love the books as much as I did when I made that very first one. I no longer, if I do a rubber stamp, I'll make it. I don't use purchased ones. And that's really my story. And I'm so grateful to so many people who held my hand or encouraged me or gave me some ideas or pointed me in a certain direction. Because for somebody who hasn't been in the art world at all, to be able to find a place in it, it takes extraordinary people who are so willing to share, so willing to, be open to you. And I just feel like I'm extraordinarily fortunate. So,
Suzy, thank you so much. This was wonderful to hear your story. And now, if it's all right with you, let's open it up and see who might have some questions. You can, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand. We'll try to call on you. Anyone have a question for Suzy?
Janet has a question.
No question in general about the Suzy work that is magnificent, but you said that you start getting in a group. You formed this group last year, I believe you said. How I can reach or be part of the group? I am also an artist for a long time, but I am looking. I was part of the whole group of fine artists in the Artist Guild, but they were, the group, they dissolved or they are not together anymore. But I stopped going there as often as I will, as I used to go. And I'm taking classes of printmaking, but I done encaustic, I done acrylic, resin, many other different fields, But I would like to get together with a group from St. Louis. I live in St. Charles, and for this reason, I feel a little isolated here. But I am very happy to see that it's a group going on and have activity. And if anyone can reach me and give me a chance to get together, it will be fantastic.
So thank you so much for speaking up. It's good to hear your feedback. Perhaps when we get to talking in a few minutes about different art happenings going on, that'll give you some ideas of places you can go, events that you can tune into and meet fellow artists.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a question? Yes, Judy.
I just want to say I've known Suzy for a while, and I've watched all of her muted tones through the years. And recently when that color came out, I was like, oh my God, who is this? And it was that blue, of course, because I'm always attracted to that. And I think I even emailed her right away and said, oh my God, what is this? Because it was such a diversion and such a fantastic one. So maybe she's right, even though she still loves all of those muted tones and grays and browns. She's just kind of worked through that, and it's just beautiful. So it is just really so nice to see this progression over the years. You don't often get to see that with an artist. So bravo,
thank you, Judy. I don't know where it came from either. It just did. Thank you so much.
Yes, Robin?
Hi, Suzy. How are you?
Robin.
Listen, you didn't say anything about your wearables. Are you still doing wearables? And I do love those last two pieces that were at the gallery in Columbia. They were just stunning.
Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
I am still doing wearables, and St. Louis Union Studio has is carrying the eco-printed scarves, which is mostly what I do now. But yeah, I am. I know. I love it all. There's so much. I mean, that's a whole different thing. That I do that in my disgusting basement. So no one is ever going to see that because it's really nasty. And you know, when it rains, it's the floors are all wet. But yeah, I am definitely still doing them, and I still love doing that too.
Suzy, do you sign your work?
I do. You know, not the scarves and stuff, but I do. Yes.
Because I was looking and occasionally I thought I could see a hint of it, but other times I didn't. Do you
I
sign
tried
them?
to. Some of the fiber pieces, you know, might have to put it on the back or something. But yeah, my framing store made me do it. I mean, they're just like, you have to do this. So, okay.
I love hearing about your journey and how you experiment. Can you tell us a little bit about what you might be thinking of that you'll work on next or experiment with next?
Well, I think it's really interesting. Another thing I learned about myself in all this is if I think I should be doing something, but my gut or whatever it is inside doesn't think I should be doing it, it's not going to work. So all of January, I'm trying to paint and it's just not working. It's just really not working. I mean, I just don't like anything. It's frustrating. So when I knew I had to give this talk, I knew I had to clean my studio because my studio, oh, it just gets, I mean, it's little and it gets so full of stuff on the floor and all over. I mean, I'm just like Pigpen. So I cleaned my studio, right? And then what happened? I immediately said, I have to paint. I didn't say it, my gut said it. So I had to start painting, even though, and now I tidied it up, but the table, which was really lovely, is now full of paint. But I mean, you know, so I don't know what I'm working on next. My gut will tell me. I always work on some fiber pieces and then so I was, I don't know. So I did these paintings I hated, but then I looked at it when I was cleaning the studio and I thought, well, this painting can be a book. And so this will be my next travel book. I haven't bound it yet, but so this thing that I hated as a painting kind of makes a funky little book with a little closure here, if I figured that out. So, you know, these things just kind of happen and you have to be open, I think, to things that you don't expect. So I do have, I'm in a 3-person show now at Judson House, but it's pretty much, you can't really get into that. And it's only open for Fridays and we'll take it down at the end of the month. So, you know.
Still, that's very good. What other questions do you have for Suzy?
Hello, Cynthia.
Yes.
It's Janice.
Hi,
Hi.
Dennis.
Hi. I would like to ask her about Janet Ito because that name is really familiar to me from feng shui, maybe 15 years ago here in St. Louis. Am I right?
Probably. We would have to let Janet speak to that. Janet isn't herself as well.
Is she in this group?
Yeah.
I am.
She's here.
I'm here. I don't know where I am on the picture, but yes, were you in that training group, Janice? Sorry.
I think so. I'm trying to remember how and where I just remember knowing you. Maplewood
Right.
area.
Why don't you two send each other a message in the chat so you can connect? That sounds like a great reunion.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
Do
Very
me a
good.
Hi,
favor,
Suzy.
Sarah, if you
Suzy?
will.
I think we have, oh, I think
Just
I'm
hit
overturning
record.
somebody.
So did I see another hand go up? Did we have
Yes.
another? Yes.
Hi, this is
Hi.
Marielle. We're in Paris watching this and really just find it wonderful. And one of our friends here has a question for Suzy.
Hi, Suzy. I have a question. I don't know if it's related to the art, but it's certainly related to the way you presented your the progression of your artwork. I saw that you move from very natural color from nature, like brown and gray and black, etc., slightly to more and more gray, and then finally you show this wonderful art piece that was all black. And then so it's the victory of over the sun. No more colors, just pure creation based on using only black color. And then suddenly you move to a very colorful painting with pastel colors, but lots of green and red and yellow. So how did you feel? How, moving out from a slight progression to black, all black, and then suddenly the colors. How did it happen, and how did you feel as an artist moving suddenly back to colors?
It was just the strangest thing. I mean, I was, we were not going out, not seeing anybody. I was in the studio all alone, well, not all day, but, that was my routine every week for months. And the color, it just started coming out. I liked it. I think maybe the best way I can explain it is that I am, with me, it's either feast or famine. It's either wonderful or it's just terrible. And so, some of the darker colors that I am very attracted to would be kind of the oh my God, it's terrible. And then I like bright colors too. I don't know. I really don't know. It was very strange to me, but I'm sorry I'm not answering your question.
No, actually, the sun came back with spring. Let's put it this way.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I did make them maybe in like January in February and March of 2020. So maybe I was anticipating spring.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us from Paris. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
It's wonderful.
Mary Ellen and I have been friends for a really long time. We knew each other at work and we've stayed in touch. But
Yes,
so
yes.
very
Oh,
exciting.
wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I think what we'll do now is we're going to do our breakout rooms. But before we do, Suzy, thank you so much. This has just been awesome. And I hope you will join us for the breakouts too.
Let me just ask you this, Cynthia. Do you want me to take the phone around and look at the studio?
Yeah,
Is there
would you? Yeah, do you want, if you don't mind just taking about 2 or 3 minutes to do that, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Okay. So this was, can you see this?
Yeah.
I don't know what is going on. So these are some things I've been working on, little reliquaries, and they were going to be all over the table until I started painting again. And this is my little scrapbook that I made during the pandemic. And here's some of a book again made with leaves that Robin asked about. Well, wearables you asked, but these are just I love these little secret compartments and that sort of thing. Okay, and then we go around and here's some pieces. And here's some paints. It's thrilling. And it's kind of messy. Here's a book that has sort of a workbook. I just put lots of stuff in it.
Color in there.
There is color. But you see, it's not a very big studio. And here's a book I'm working on. And here's Pizzicato, that piece. And more books and more boxes. And this is my father, an image of my father when he was a little boy in a swimsuit that is on a piece that I made. And then this is, you know, a, what do you call it? Accordion fold, big book, lots of pictures. Oh yeah, here's the outside. And here is, a real early piece. Again, this has some of the dyed fabric stitched together that I really love. Just love those colors. There's the leaf. And that's my studio.
Well, Suzy, thank you so much. What a gift to invite us into your studio. That is wonderful.
Yeah, I
Thank you
think
much.
often art is interpreted for us. We don't often get to hear sort of the backstory and in such an intimate, personal, and private way. So I really think that just thank you so much, Suzy, because you really, to share that from, it comes from a very deep place. So
Thank you so much. Thank you, both of you, because for starting this group. I think it's wonderful. And, you know, for just having an opportunity for artists to get together and share and meet new people. And it's terrific, learn new things. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Suzy. We appreciate you. And it looks like we've had a number of people leave. They left messages that they thought this was just an hour or they had someplace they had to be. So now that we're a smaller group, I don't think we need to do breakouts. Let's just have one big discussion. And so there are two things we can talk about right now for the next few minutes. One is, what were your takeaways from Suzy? What thoughts do you have, the things that you heard Suzy talk about that you might incorporate in your own creative practice? And then the other is, tell us more about art happenings in the area that you're excited about. So would anyone like to be first? Any takeaways? Yes, Jen?
Yes, I was really impressed with one of her early comments about having a color palette, a natural color palette inside of you. I just think that's a really interesting comment, and how an artist can start with that and build on that. I think she's doing some really interesting things with color.
You.
Yes, absolutely. It's wonderful to see that evolution.
And building on that, I appreciate your willingness just to give yourself permission to do it. It's so, for me, it's really easy to get in sort of a, this is what I'm doing, and not let things evolve and shape themselves, so to speak. So I appreciate that.
What a good point. None of us really likes change, right? And yet we watched Suzy. That seems to be the theme of your creativity, which is wonderful.
Well, it's annoying when you want to do something but inside of you doesn't, because I'll do it, but I won't like it. So I'm like, okay, fine. I don't understand it, but.
It's It's kind of organic order, if you think about it. There is order to what you start with, and then it becomes more organic over time.
Yes, Timothy.
Yeah, Suzy, I just loved your story. It was so great to hear about how you started with such a lack of confidence and uncertainty, but you just loved what you were doing and enjoyed it. And it had nothing to do with commercialism or anything else. It was just about loving and enjoying the process of making art. And that is just so basic and so wonderful to hear that. That's what it's about.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think one thing, oh my God, what did I do? One comment I would have about that is, so after I did this show at Sager Reeves, people said, you know, you really should paint. You're really good at it. And so I said to myself, oh, I really should paint. I'm really good at it. And the more I tried to paint, the worse it got. And so I thought, you know, it's seductive to want to listen to people's comments that, you know, yes, I should paint, but you got to be true to yourself. That just came out so clearly to me. Sure, do I want to be in, you know, the Metropolitan Museum or whatever? Yeah, great. But I gotta do what inspires me, what I have to do. So it was very interesting to learn that.
And I think that's the secret to your success, is that you do what you love.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a good message for all of us, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think when work has that sense of, it has a power when it comes from that deep, passionate place inside of us. And that's what makes it attractive to others as well.
Hopefully, or maybe not, you know. But it is ultimately about, you know, how does it make you feel?
Yeah. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm joining you from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And I'm a friend of
Wonderful.
Suzy's and a few other ladies here that I see, my lovely fiber art friends. And I just was really excited to see and hear you, Suzy, and I miss all you guys so much. And seeing the color was like so exciting for me. So thank you.
Thanks, Penny. Miss you too.
Thanks for joining us. Well, it looks like in the chat we have Wendy Richards. Are you still with us on the call, Wendy? She left a message that she has an exhibit, or there's an exhibit at the Longview Farm Art Gallery on Clayton Road in Town and Country. It's the Bits Art Quilters. So that sounds like fun. Timothy left the address for the gallery, so if everyone wants to check that out, 2000 South 39th Street, St. Louis, 63110.
And Janet Reel has a couple of pieces in an exhibit now at the Artists Guild. And that show will be up until the 26th of February. So congratulations, Janet, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thanks. I want to just say a few things about this show because it's really rather special. It's an invitational. It's curated by Robert Powell, who's the founder and director of Portfolio Gallery and Education Center. Some of you may know that there used to be a brick and mortar gallery behind Powell Hall. And he's been doing this for 33 years. And when he first started doing it in the building, which is a gorgeous building, Powell Hall has since bought it. But there were only two places in St. Louis where Black artists could show. So there was the Vaughn, and then when Robert opened his gallery Portfolio, then there were two. And he showed artists not just locally, regionally, nationally, even internationally. And those populations are represented in the All Colors exhibit that's at the Arts Guild right now. The show is to raise funds for Portfolio's mission, and that is to support Black artists in various ways, whatever stage of the career that they're in. So this is going to be, or this is definitely the largest exhibit that you can see of multicultural exhibit, primarily Black artists, that you'll ever see in St. Louis the rest of the year. It's just really extraordinary with a wide range of styles and also media. So I definitely urge you to see it if you can before it comes down on the 26th.
Yeah, I actually think Ron Young, who did an artist talk for our group early on, he has a piece in that show.
Yes, Ron is, there's a group of us who've been together for a very long time. And I'm a fairly newcomer from 2007, but it was a glorious night, like a family reunion, truly. And not just the artists ourselves, but also our work. We know each other so well, we can look across the room and say, Ron Young, for instance. And so the beautiful way that Catherine and Zach hung the show, it's hung salon style, and they hung it in such a way that the work does dialogue with each other. They've hung it, even if you just go to look how it's hung, it's worth the trip, because it's keyed to color, it's keyed to subject, it's keyed to pattern, and it resonates throughout. It's the whole thing, the whole show is just beautifully done. It's a great opportunity to observe excellent art from around the world, and also excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Forgive me. Just one other thing. So there are over 60 artists in the show. Sorry, there are over 40 artists in the show and over 60 pieces of art. Okay,
very cool.
That's my advertisement.
Thank you, Janet. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's a show going on, for those who venture out to Edwardsville, Illinois, the Edwardsville Art Center is starting. The show is online, but starting this Friday, you can go in person, and it's called Cabin Fever, and it's art that is being displayed that you created during 2020 and 2021. So it's a nice show, what you did during the pandemic. So I have 3 pieces in there, but it's a nice show overall. And if you go to Edwardsville Art Center, you could actually go to the events page and see the show online.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
And my art's still at, actually Mary's here too. So both our arts are at the Edwards Jones on Grand, definitely till the end of the month. So if you're ever on Grand, just go into the Edwardsville, the Edwards Jones and see the art, and definitely come into Green Door Art Gallery. We have wonderful art going on there all the time. There, that's my plug.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, Judith, go ahead, Mary.
There's an art show at O'Fallon City Hall. It's Rich Brooks, and all of his pieces, he has probably close to 50 pieces there. They're all 4x4 paintings, acrylic paintings that he calls art to make you smile. And he did this during the pandemic. He painted these outside in front of his house, every one of them. So it's a good show.
Sounds interesting. Well, maybe it's time now, Judith, for us to talk about what's coming up next. Shall I share the screen?
Sure. Yeah, or you can show those slides or. So our March meeting is going to be a conversation between Hauska Gallery Curatorial Director Lauren Tracy and artist educator and SLAG exhibition coordinator Zach Pitot. And they're going to talk about how to approach a gallery what gallery representation entails, how to price your work, and other related topics. And to some degree, you know, our particular questions and interests can guide the direction of the topic. So we hope that you'll come. For now, we're scheduling this in person, and the gallery is excited to host us. And there'll also be a chance to view the new exhibition that's on display there now. And speaking of that, the Hauska Gallery, as many of you know, is in the Central West End. And there are several galleries within a stone's throw from one another. And here's a listing of some of them. And so it could be a fun afternoon to plan your own gallery crawl, either on the day of the March meeting or on another afternoon. So these are all wonderful galleries. And our April meeting is going to be at the Angad Arts Hotel. And Vanessa Rudloff, who's the art relations manager there, is going to take us on a tour of the artwork currently on display in galleries throughout the property by local artists. They really do a good job of supporting local artists. And Vanessa also will talk about the curatorial process, art programming at the hotel, as well as give us an update on developments in the Grand Center Arts District. And we will end that meeting. They have a wonderful, some of you probably have been, rooftop bar area with fabulous views, and it's a great venue. So we can end up there and have our informal conversation there afterwards. So that's what's on tap for April. And in between, there's a great exhibit that's opening up at Bruno David Gallery with Cindy Tower. I don't know if any of you know of her, but she's an amazing painter. And I'm trying to arrange an artist talk and private tour of the exhibit with her when she's in town for the opening. That would be sort of like an adjunct activity for us. And she does what she calls combines. And that was a word that was coined in the 1950s by Robert Rauschenberg. And it's about combining elements. And she actually integrates three-dimensional objects into her paintings. So that will keep you posted, excuse me, on that coming up.
And Judith, I just want to emphasize that we have changed the date and time for April. And it was really important that we changed the date and time because we wanted to be able to take advantage of the rooftop bar at the hotel, which is not open on Tuesdays. So it does open at 4. So on Thursday. So we'll be meeting on Thursday, April 21st. And starting half an hour later at 2:30. So please make a note of that. We're going to try to emphasize that as we promote this. But that's, Judith, you've really got a couple of fabulous events lined up for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You know what, there's a great exhibit at the St. Louis Art Museum now, the Impressionist Exhibit, and I just wanted to mention that. And then the next slide is of an exhibit that's opening up at the Pulitzer, and it sounds really interesting. It's where the viewer actually gets to engage with the art. And so I thought that sounds really interesting as well. So so yeah, so that sort of brings our meeting to a close. And this was something, and I think these last two sort of reminders really reinforce the way that Suzy works. And this was just by an artist from Nebraska. I found this, and she said, "I make art to show my soul that I am listening." And I
I
think,
love it.
yeah. And then the next one also, yeah.
Excuse me, Janet has a question.
Oh, okay.
I just want to say that on February 26th, both Friday and Saturday of that week, there's a drop-in docented tour for Black art at Slam.
Awesome.
So you don't have to sign up. Let me get the details for you here. Hang on. So let's see. So there'll be one on Saturday, the 26th of February, and that's from 1 to 2. And the one, there'll be 2 docents, and one of them is Monica McPhee, a friend of mine, and she's an excellent docent. And also from 1 to 2 on Friday, February 25th. So the 25th and the 26th, from 1 to 2, they're free, open to the public. All you have to do is meet in the main hall by the public tour sign if you're interested.
Very good. Thank you, Janet. Judith, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's all. I think just we have one more slide to sort of sum up Suzy's wonderful presentation. And this is a Rumi quote, and it speaks for itself. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. And Suzy's work is a wonderful example of that.
Thank you.
Yes, very much so.
So those are.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And be sure to keep your eye on the Guild website, our page, the Art Collaborative page. It will be posting information about the upcoming events and how you can reserve your spot. And in the meantime, if you have any suggestions for us, you can always send us an email. And we'd love to hear from you. And that's email is it's Art Collaborative at St. Louis Artists, plural, artistguild.org. It's a long one. You can also just send an email to the Artists Guild and they'll send it to us. Well, everyone have a great week. Get out and enjoy. I'm going to head outside and enjoy some of this spring weather we're having.
And thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.